All right. A lot of interesting things have been happening since that horrible ass debate that Joe Biden and Donald Trump had here last Thursday. Okay. Now, with all that being said, the excuses came out. And we're going to go over what Joe Biden and his camp said. Trump got granted partial immunity from all the shit that's been going on while he was president. They have to come through and the lower courts have to decide his fate. And pretty much they have to go through and decide what is executive, which he's immune from because he gave executive orders as president, and what isn't executive business that he's not immune to. And but in the midst of all that, this month in July, I think next week actually, Ukraine's supposed to be officially sworn into NATO. And that has a lot of complications as well. So first thing, I'm going to share this screen with you guys. All right. And I'm going to get out the way. This right here is about Joe Biden. Okay. Now, it says that Joe Biden has offered plenty of excuses for his terrible performance in the last week presidential debate. None of them have done much to, assure the Democratic concern, assurance, whatever. The Democrats concerned about Donald Trump returning to the White House. Assurance. Well, assurance? I guess they spelled this word wrong. Assurance, as usage, whatever the fuck. Should be assurance. Do much to, whatever. Man, I ain't never seen that word before. Assurance? That's crazy. Anyway, for its part, Biden's White House insists these are explanations, not excuses. Now, I don't know the difference between explanations and excuses. They both sound the same. If you're trying to give an explanation about something, then you're trying to explain something. Excuse is the same thing. You're trying to explain what happened for the excuse to make sense. So they're like one and the same. Okay. Let me fix my screen here. Not gonna lie, I got a beer here, so some of these words may come out a little bit topsy-turvy. Explanation. I just made a video about my training session last week. In the video, I was explaining why I was doing what I was doing and the way my technique was looking. And why I was looking that way and why I did it that way. That's an explanation, right? That's one explanation. Let's say I trip over you, right? And I fall down. And I get up and I say, excuse, me. I didn't mean to do this. Here's why I didn't see you. You're explaining why that happened. Same can be, said about his poor performance. The excuse is he was sick. Well, in order for the excuse to make sense, you have to explain the reason why you were sick. That's the explanation. So they're both one in the fucking same. The bottom line is he fucked up. He said he was sick, but I can find footage to where he didn't look pretty sick after he got off that fucking plane and went to Midtown Atlanta, because I live in Metro Atlanta. He didn't look pretty sick when he was at that fucking rally, that unattended, unscheduled fucking planned rally, hugging all those people outside in downtown Midtown. Anyway, back to this article. All right. But they have only intensified the concerns Democrats have about their presumptive nominee readiness. So, okay, you got the bad cold. Biden is, look at this. He's 81 years old. If Biden do 4 more years, he'd be 85, damn near 86 when it's over. Because I think he's about to turn 82 this year. No, he just had a birthday. So he'll be 85 years old when this shit's over. That's just fucking crazy. Okay, he may not live another year. Let's just be real. Okay. His voice was raspy. His eyes looked glassy at times. I remember that. But despite the cold, he went from the debate to a watch party and then to a Waffle House. Now, if Biden has a cold, all right, the Secretary of Health, his doctors, everyone else should have told him that's probably not the wisest thing to do. You have a cold. Do your little debate. Go back and rest. He went to a watch party and got people sick, and then to a Waffle House. Oh, and this right here, the Energized speech Friday in North Carolina, that was a teleprompter speech. I seen that shit. And then, of course, the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, said that Wednesday at the news briefing that she initially leaned into the code as an explanation, but she knew his schedule and jet lag were issues. Biden had got back 12 days, I think, or 10 days before that debate. So how the fuck was he jet lag? Jet lag would be, I got in last night 6 hours ago, and now I'm going to a debate. That's jet lag. That's jet lag. But whatever. She later suggests that Biden traveled and then got a cold, possibly linking the two together. That was my bad, the press secretary said, of not discussing jet lag earlier. Yeah. Studied too hard. I want you guys to see my face on this. He studied too hard for the debate. I thought the debate was to be unscripted. Off the top of your dome, answer questions. I was told unscripted debate. So how the fuck was he studying? What was he studying? That makes no sense. If it's an unscripted debate, you don't know the questions to the answers. How can you study for something? Once again, there's a lot of lies being told here. Not feeling great. Jet lag from a trip nearly 2 weeks earlier. Holy fucking shit. That age, if he ain't recovered from a trip nearly 2 weeks ago, that's age. And the rest, why he didn't do more damage control. But anyway, point is, Biden had a lot of excuses, and he already said that he is not stepping down for the nominee. He's going to be the Democratic presumptive presidential nominee to try to keep his job. But in the same week, okay, this happened. In the same week, the Supreme Court granted Donald Trump, immunity from certain parts of his, presidency. So Donald Trump was granted immunity for a wide range of criminal conduct committed while in office. The Supreme Court has set a dangerous precedent that presidents are above the law. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not surprised. The Supreme Court is now mainly Republican based, so a lot of stuff hinged on them trying to keep their jobs, even though the Supreme Court job is a lifelong tenure. I guess they didn't want death threats and shit coming to their house. I mean, but they're judges. I mean, come on, Jesus Christ, they got all the assets in the world to find out who's getting them death threats. But anyway, the Supreme Court decision to grant the president's immunity for prosecution for criminal acts committed while in office not only gives Donald Trump a free pass for his past crimes, but has set a dangerous precedent for all future presidents. Okay, now you can read more about Trump's case, but the thing about this is simple. The cases right now that Donald Trump is being tried for, let me do it like here. They have to go back and redo almost everything about those cases. Matter of fact, his punishment for the 34 felony convictions up in New York, whatever, the Stormy Daniels shit and all that other shit, the hush money case, they have to basically now go back and determine what part of those cases is Donald Trump immune to those charges and what parts that he's not immune from, because he's not going to be immune from the whole case. The shit that he did with Stormy Daniels, he done before he took office, and a lot of that other stuff. Then there were some things, but he was the president that he may not have knowledge of, but that he signed off on that wasn't executive orders and shit like that, executive business. So he could be found liable for that. So they gotta go through and sort all that shit out. that also has a issue with him down here in Georgia because of the election case where he called in and tried to get all of the votes that he needed to take over Georgia to win Georgia, and thus probably damn near won the election. A lot of that isn't executive business. That was Trump trying to take the case, trying to take the election and all that shit, and we all know it. So I think that Georgia case is still gonna have to have some retuning to it, but it's not gonna be to the extent of some of his other cases, like the January 6th stuff that's going on with him trying to, be the forefront runner of the insurrection. So there's a lot of things that they gotta go back and look. He's not totally immune, but a lot of those cases now won't get decided before the general election come November. And 9 times out of 10, what ultimately is going to end up happening is if Trump win the election, okay, then a lot of stuff he can probably brush under the table. He can kind of get rid of because he's president and he ain't been tried yet, so he can kind of get rid of some of that stuff. Not all, but some. So it's one of those things where it's a win for Trump in a sense, but then if he don't get elected as president, then he could still be facing some jail time. So, but the thing is, a lot of this, a lot of people think is based on a lot of people are afraid of if they go against Donald Trump right now, it could be a lot of backlash and a lot of things like that. And I think some of that play into the decision of the Supreme Court. But I think, honestly, when you look at some of those cases, there were a lot of things, and I have been saying about like the insurrection for example. I don't think Donald Trump should be charged with that because he didn't outright say y'all stormed the Capitol building. Yeah, he might have riled up the guys. It was the other asshole that I think is locked up right now, not Steve Bannon. I can't think of the guy's name, but he was the one that said, we'll go in and kick ass and all this motherfucking shit. That guy, he basically told everybody, go storm the fucking Capitol. It really wasn't Donald Trump. So you can't really hold that over his head. A lot of people were mad that, Mike Pence didn't certify the election the way that Donald Trump wanted to do it. But he didn't say storm the Capitol. It's kind of like the E.G. Jean, what the fuck that woman name is that won that big settlement about Donald Trump having sex with her and groping her and all that shit. They use an Access Hollywood tape for that. I believe she should have got a goddamn dime. Why try to make the man pay now because he said some shit? So there are certain things that Trump can come back and counsel for. E. Jean Carroll's name. She might be on the chopping block. Even though her case is a little bit different, she got paid for before he was president, but there's a thing that been going on while he was president. There's a lot of shit. So I won't be surprised if you see some changes with that. So Trump got a pretty decent win now, but here's the other big thing that a lot of people are not talking about, and I want you guys to understand. Next week is a big week for Ukraine because Ukraine might officially become a part of NATO, right? And a lot of people are not talking about this. I have been talking about this because this is indeed something very serious. Scores of experts fear NATO bridge for Ukraine could pose threats. Now, if you go on NATO.org and all this other fucking bullshit, you're not going to hear this. Now, I've just said in my last live stream and time again. There is something called Article 5. Okay? And we're going to read about it in a second. Dozens of foreign policy experts have urged NATO members not to advance Ukraine's membership issue at the Washington summit. They're coming to D.C. this week, next week, arguing that in their view, it could jeopardize the United States and its allies and could fracture the coalition, which is true. This is Politico, citing the experts' letter as reported by European, Pravda? What the fuck? Experts say if Ukraine were to be accepted into NATO and Russia were to attack Ukraine in the future, Article 5, which calls on allies to defend a NATO member under attack, would likely be invoked. And that is indeed true. The focus on Article 5 is widespread among those opposing Ukraine's membership, but the public stance by over 60 analysis allows for insight into arguments that will likely be heard during the 3-day summit starting on the 9th of July, which is next week. Now, what this means is Article 5, right? Article 5 pretty much states that if you attack someone that's a part of NATO, one attack against one member of NATO is attack against all. That's what happened with September the 11th. When America got attacked by Afghanistan and Osama bin Laden, it invoked the Article 5. That's why we have so many allies fight with us in OIF, right? And OEF, War Against Terrorism. Well, now, this could be on a bigger scale. Essentially, it could be World War III, all right? And if you haven't been paying attention, Putin was just in North Korea with Kim Jong-un. He just had some fleets that was off the Cuban coastline not that long ago, about 2 weeks ago. Him and China, Xi Jinping, they've been buddy-buddy. They're getting even more buddy-buddier. All right, there's a lot of things going on. In America, for the most part, we are a out of shape, tired, whiny, soft, and incompetent country right now. We have a leader that pretty much said he basically almost fell asleep on the debate stage. Biden said that he almost fell asleep on the debate stage. So you have a lot going the fuck on. And you have a lot of other countries looking at us like, hey, America right now is ripe for the taking. And that is indeed the truth. We are sitting back, ass up, booty cheek spread, asshole wide open just to be fucked. And we're going to get fucked if this shit happens. And America doesn't take the proper precautions. Okay. NATO is one of those things where if America falls, NATO falls as well. And a lot of those countries, when America falls, is going to come to America's aid when other countries try to take over America. They're going to join the other countries that defeated America. That's what's going to happen. It's called big bank take little bank. We're going to be made an example out of. So Ukraine was told to join us months in advance 3 years ago before Russia invaded. And they did. Now they want to join because they're getting their ass kicked. Problem is, if they don't join, they're fucked. Because we can only keep giving them so much money, and eventually Biden is going to office or die in office. And if Kamala get in there, I don't think Kamala will continue to give Ukraine a lot of money. But if she might end up saying, hey, we can't keep doing this. It's causing American people. America's getting tired of this shit. Pretty much. I'm getting tired of this fucking shit. Right? If Trump get in there, we're getting out of NATO. He did last time. He gonna fucking do it again until Ukraine go fuck themselves. So Ukraine is fucked anywhere it go. Right? If they join, then everybody might be fucked. We go to war, and if we lose, all the other countries go jump ship. So everybody's gonna be fucked. So it's a no-win situation. If everybody would just mind their business and let Russia do the fuck they want to do, and they would have took Ukraine, oh well, so be it. Ukraine had the opportunity to stop and save themselves before this shit got as bad as it fucking got. And now it's like we could be fucked. July the 9th, which is coming up next week, is going to be a telltale all. It's going to be a telltale all. There could be serious ramifications that could occur after July the 9th if they decide to go forward with Ukraine's application to NATO. So all I can say is buckle up. It's going to be a motherfucking bumpy ride. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this video. Keep an eye out. Next week going to be very interesting. And let's see what happens. If they prolong Ukraine's decision to after the election, then that may bode well for America. Because once again, it looked like, even though it's still a tie right now, a lot of people are favoring Trump. I really don't know who to vote for. I don't think both of them should be in office, honestly. But if it was up to me, I'd rather put someone in there that can at least think on their fucking feet. And that right now would be Donald fucking Trump. So let's just see what happens. Like I said, I'm not thrilled about nobody being in there right now. I mean, for crying out loud, Nancy Pelosi is begging for Biden to step down. Nancy Pelosi, who should step down herself and retire. She's like 86 years old. All right. I mean, it's horrible right now in Congress. It's fucking horrible. As far as it ran by a bunch of old folks. It's fucking horrible. So let's just see what happens in the next few weeks. So hope you all enjoyed this video. I am out, everyone. Peace.